Hello everyone, welcome to today's Vibe Coding Live. This is us looking at, we're not using AI the same way. And the whole point of these little demos that we go through is essentially to get people to start looking at understanding AI from this chatbot interface, what you're used to from a like 2024 perspective, where you would jump on, you would, type in, you get an answer back. And that's, to be honest, the extent that most people have utilized AI when it comes to things like Copilot licenses and stuff like that. You're really talking about the beginning part of that journey of I type in a question and I get a response. The whole point of these sessions is to be able to go and show you the capability of AI agents. And realistically, that's the next evolution of your AI. And that means that we no longer have just AIs that give you a response, but AIs that are capable of being able to utilize tools, AIs that are capable of being able to work on your system, control your mouse, navigate the internet for you, in order to be able to go and get you an outcome rather than just a response. And this isn't designed to be one of those sessions where I go, and this is how to do everything step by step. This is more to show you the art of the possible, because that's kind of what you need to be able to see before I start giving you tutorials on being able to go and do this stuff. It's to show you that actually the capabilities have advanced so far that you're probably not even thinking about what it's like, what you can achieve with AI at the moment. So today we are going to be running through creating a couple of things. One is we are going to create an agentic AI animation. And what I mean by that is I want to create a visualization for you to understand the different types of AI. And we're going to go and get an AI to go and create it. The other thing we're going to do is create a video studio. Now, I've already laid some of the foundations for this one. Essentially, I do shorts all the time when you're looking on YouTube and stuff like that, where essentially I have AIs that can go and edit those videos for me. And what I want to be able to do is create a video studio within the applications that I utilize to essentially be able to edit those videos in browser. And one of the reasons that I want to demo this for you is because one of the most useful things from my perspective of learning how agent AIs work is being able to look at all the subscriptions that I pay for, all of these services that I pay for, and go, you know what, I can probably get an AI to go and create that. And this is a really good example. If you utilize a video editing tool like CapCut or Captions AI, you might want to be able to utilize something like this to go, actually, I'll just go and build it on my own platform, and then I don't have to pay anyone for it. On an average month at the moment, I save about £700 because of the subscriptions that I have been able to knock off my bill by rebuilding it with my own systems. The whole point of these sessions as well, if you've got questions, concerns, thoughts along the way, and you want us to be able to address those, this is a great little opportunity for being able to do so as well. So we're going to get started by launching this prompt. What you'll see on the screen there is a visualization of the terminal that I'm utilizing. So if I show you what that looks like on my side, it looks like this, which, let me share my screen so you can see that side as well. So if you're looking at my side of how things look, this is the terminal that I'm working in. It is Claude in VS Code. So essentially, this is where we're going to be putting all of our prompt in to be able to get the outcomes that we're looking for. But one thing that you can have come up with that is security bits being shared and everything as well. So what I wanted to do was to be able to create a visualization of everything that you can see happening. And I've improved it based on some of the feedback we had in the last one, where people said, actually, I want to be able to understand a little bit more about what's going on and how it's doing things. So now we've updated the animations and stuff as well. So it's going to explain to you what it's doing and how it's doing it as it goes through. And obviously I can talk you through everything as well. But as I said, if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. We'll do our best to answer them as we go through. So my first step is I'm going to put into our AI agent here, our Claude code, exactly what I've explained to you, the two things that I want to be able to go and achieve and how I want to go about achieving those. This was simply done through me talking through. I've got a little application, which is a little shortcut key on my keyboards, which just records what I'm saying. And often that's what I utilize to go and create these things. Is you don't have to always think about how do I write this out? How do I do prompt engineering? That's very 2024. What you can do now is literally brain dump in order to be able to get what you want. The AIs are complex enough and have enough understanding to be able to go and do that. What you can see here is it's spawning off a couple of agents. So we have our orchestrator agent in the middle, and what it's doing is it's creating additional agents to essentially complete different tasks. At the moment, we can see that if we were to zoom in, let's go and zoom in a little bit. We can see our agents are sending information back and forth. So this one is going to be our agent that's going to be working on the studio. Every time you see these green buttons appear, it's running a script. It's running something within our system. Now, this system sits on my server over here, and we'll look at some visualizations to be able to understand that a little bit further. But these AI agents, they've got their own computer. They essentially have a way of being able to do things. That doesn't mean that they have to go through a browser interface to do it. They have their own machine to be able to work on in order to do that. And every time you're seeing those commands here, essentially it's operating its own computer to be able to go and achieve those results. So we can see that it's coming up with a bunch of agents there to be able to start looking through all of the work that we're going to be doing. It's going to probably spend time throughout the next half an hour being able to work through that. So we can we'll keep that open as we talk through as well. But one question that I got last time, and I think it's a really valid question, is what kind of setup allows you to create something like this? So we are going to have a look at that in just a sec. Let me bring up our visualizations so you can have a look at that as well. I always think it's really cool watching those be able to work, but also it's nice being able to understand what's going on in the background as well. So let me reshare my screen with our visualizations. So this setup at the moment that's allowing us to do this with our code running in the background, I'll put them side by side so you can see them clearly. This is our little visualization center that I've built into a platform, what I call Nerve. Nerve is essentially almost like the Slack channels that I have for all of my AI agents. So we can do conversations. If we need to get something done, I can operate it through there. If there's approvals that need doing, particular applications and stuff like that, we have the opportunity to be able to kind of have a platform to interact in a way that feels more like what you would be used to if you were dealing with an office. There is all of these agents that you can see here are the agents that run my business. They have different tasks, they have different strengths, they have different tools. And essentially by giving them this kind of walled off area, they have access to the things that they need. Similar to your organization. In your organization, you don't just give every person access to all of the systems. You give them access to the systems that they need to do their job. Well, that's what all these agents have here as well. So I wanted to show you the tech stack that we have going on here. And I'll bring it up to our full screen as well. So essentially, the way that we're achieving the results that we're looking at the moment is I'm on my laptop at the moment, my HP ZBook, and we've got VS Code open, which is the thing that you saw at the beginning there. And that VS Code has the Claude Code extension in it. Claude Code, I also give access to Codex. Like my Claude Code, I often have Codex work with it to be able to go and complete certain tasks. So if there's something that I think is going to be particularly complex, or I want it to be able to basically have something that's going to check its homework, Claude Code can access Codex as well in order to kind of get better results. We have our MCP and API tools. So this is essentially anything else that they want to be able to connect with, whether it's a tool, whether it's another program, another application, they've all got access to those tools. And this is the server that they all sit on. So there's a computer that sits in my cupboard that's on all of the time. That is where all of these AI agents can operate from. On that server, which is just simply a computer that is on all the time, that is able to kind of support my local network of things, of AI agents. We have two platforms that we've created. So one is that Nerve Center and one is Brew. And essentially, if I was to show you those on here, let me minimize this a sec. So we've got Nerve, which is our little agent platform here for being able to go and talk to our agents. And we have Brew, which is the background of my business. So this is where essentially all of the data sits, a lot of the applications they sit within Brew. And that is for essentially my AI agents to be able to go and create things on those platforms or to interact with us, which is where you can see our AI agents all working around here, connecting to our Nerve platform. And we also have a secondary server up here called Sherlock, which is a AI server. And this one is a lot more advanced than our Camino one, but I use it for all of the AI models that we're utilizing, which are run locally. So a lot of the time, if you're not doing coding, you probably don't need to have a frontier model to be able to go and do it. If you're looking at doing things like writing an email or putting together a proposal, you don't need these advanced models. you can run them on your local system. And this is just a place that I have those local models be able to sit in order to be able to support the work that I do. Obviously, if you're running something locally, you're also getting it for free, which saves you a bit of a buck. And as compute gets more and more expensive, having options like that available is going to be a lot more advantageous. You're going to see a real revolution when it comes to local models and computers being set up with the design to be able to run local models. If that's something you're interested in, we've got loads of resources on the website as well that show you how you can set it up. So if you want AI for free, you don't want your data leaving your systems, that is the best way to do it. So that's the tech stack that's running here to keep all of our agents going. And this is our agents working on our task. So let's have a bit of an update on where things are at the moment. We have our Scout has been able to map out the code that it wants to be able to do for the visualization we're creating. It understands the layout that we want for our studio. So we can see that it's working with agents to be able to go and do that. It's also looking at the moment on the features that we're looking to add and how we want to be able to add them. And essentially that's helping create our little systems here. So let's jump onto our other screen. We have a question here, which is, what subscription do you have to have in Claude Code to do this? I have zero experience in vibe coding or any type of coding. Great question. Thank you so much. So the Claude Code, I have the Max Plus subscription, and essentially you can get that. You can still utilize that within your browser and everything, but the Max Pro subscription gives you basically more compute. It allows you to run more things and be able to do more stuff. So this subscription is essentially, you could utilize any Claude Code subscription, by the way. You don't have to have a Max Pro to be able to do this, but it helps if you're doing long coding tasks like something like this. So what you would then do is you go into VS Code, which is a free application. If you've got Windows, you'll have other terminal ones for Linux and a Mac that you're able to utilize as well. And essentially all you do is you install Claude Code on it. And you can do that via the terminal to be able to go, yep, I want Claude Code. I want it to connect to my subscription in order to be able to go create these things. You don't have to be someone who is very established at coding to be able to go and do these things. It helps you sometimes when you're communicating what you want, because if you can essentially talk the language that a computer understands, it helps it with being able to go and achieve those results. But if you are looking at getting started, you know, you've never been involved with vibe coding or coding or anything like that before, jump onto my site, go to Bykov-Brett.net/learning. If you go to our resources, there will be a bunch of things there that you can use. We have literally a guide that is Claude Code for non-coders, which I would like to think is ideal for what you're looking for. So if you click on that, you can download the guide. It's all free, and it'll just take you through your first steps of getting things set up. Also, getting Claude Code set up in VS Code will also be helpful for being able to help that. So both of those guides together should be able to get you up and running. And if you are looking as well for local AI and you wanted to be able to delve into not necessarily having to use the frontier models, but being able to utilize something that just sits on your system, then that local AI playbook will tell you how to be able to do it. Genuinely, it doesn't matter what spec of computer that you have. The only thing that will change is what parameter model you can have. But as I said, if you're using it for like emails and stuff like that, you won't notice the difference between a frontier model and a local model. So yeah, go and check that out as well. I hope that answers your question, but yeah, really appreciate it coming through. So we can see our terminal is still working through at the moment. It is, as I can see on my one, we are looking at the researchers. So essentially it's looking at potential GitHub libraries and stuff like that that might have the resources that we need in order to design these things. One of the joys of designing these things on your own system as well is, as I said, you can do it without any cost. So if once you've built it within your own space, you can have it there. It doesn't need, you don't have to go and pay people to go and access the things that you would normally access. And it also allows you to design really niche things. For example, on my one, I have this Google Chrome extension. I've never designed an extension before, but what it does is this one will look at any web page that I'm on. It will scan and look at all the form information that's there. And then essentially it will go and complete all the different forms on the page. That's because it connects to this little Wikipedia in the background on my site that's everything about me, everything that it needs to be able to know in order to complete forms. And it will use that information to go and complete all the forms. So a really useful tool, very niche. Not everything has to be scalable and shippable in order to have value for you. In fact, the best things that you can vibe code are the things that aren't out there for you already. So it's a really good place to be able to start. Let's go back to our session that's running here. Can see some thank yous in the comment. Not a problem at all. My pleasure. So if you are looking to get started with vibe coding, you know, this is a really good way of being able to actually learn how to do coding as well. There's definitely things that I would set in place to make sure, if these are your first steps into the world of coding, that you understand, you know, the safety parameters and everything that you want to put around that. There's lots of different guides online that will tell you, you know, how do you make sure that you keep your Claude code contained to what you want to be able to do. A recommendation that I'd have if you're just getting started with it and you just want to start to be a bit, you know, do a bit of learning and playing, is don't necessarily utilize your main computer. If you've got a secondary computer that you don't use anymore, that's a bit old, whatever that might be, then get started by playing on that one. You know, do something where if it damages something that you don't expect, it doesn't matter, because you can always come back to it. Also, it's one of those things that if you're doing things like downloading GitHub libraries and stuff like that, you don't necessarily always know what's in them as you're going through. Let me click on this and we can zoom in a bit. So yeah, you don't always necessarily know what's in those repos. And honestly, the internet is built with probably about 50, 60 people that have built some open source library along the time because they needed something. And then as time has gone on, the whole of the internet is based on these libraries that people don't probably even maintain. It was probably someone who did it as a hobby in the background. And now that kind of underpins a lot of the internet. So one of the things that I would always say is, you know, you can utilize AIs to go and check through a library. Is there anything malicious in this? It's not an entirely foolproof way of doing things, but it's definitely a useful way of being able to do things. So yeah, always worth a check out as well. So we can see that our agents are coming through. Let's have a little bit of an update on our terminal and see what's working. So both of our work streams are deployed to the Nerve front end. So we should be able to see the animation, and it's still doing some background stuff on developing the studio. So not all the features are there, but we should be able to have a look at what's going on. So let's jump into our studio here, visualizations. Do a hard refresh, which is Control-Shift-R. And I'm glad that our terminal hasn't lied because, you know, it's always good when you're in a live session to see what's going on. So I'll show you actually the images that I gave it to develop what we want to be able to look at. It's basically like, hey, I use Move AVI, but I want to build some AI features into it, but I want the visual aspect of the studio to look like this. And for the animation, all I'd said was, this is what I want to be able to do, but I want to be able to put it in 3D animation so I can help explain how AI works. So you're discovering this at the same time that I'm discovering it. Let me jump on here. So this is our first take of our animation when we are looking at what's going on. It's not a bad first go. Not everything happens exactly as you want it on the first time. I'd say, it's a good 6 out of 10 for a first go. It's something, I know that it hasn't necessarily finished, but it's showing that it's got some stuff going live. So we can see that our data coming through. It's gone for a very literal interpretation of what we were looking at there. So this would be our agentic AI. This is our AI agents. This would be our generative AI, and this would be an automation. So I'm going to give it some advice that I want to put back, and you're going to have to forgive me. My ability to type and talk is pretty much non-existent, but let's have a look. So all I've done here is give it a little bit of information. It's like, look, I want some labels on each of these so I can clearly identify what workflow refers to what type of AI. So if we're looking at this one, we're looking at a automation. And automation basically works by going, something's triggered, you know, somebody sends you an email. It triggers something. It could be an AI agent. It might not be an AI agent. But yeah, essentially it will start to go, right, once this happens, do this, 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 and this. So for example, I have an automation that's set up on my TikTok videos. And what it does is every time I post a TikTok video, that TikTok video gets downloaded to the server. It rewrites the caption. It writes the, for each of the different platforms, it writes a title. It then goes and posts it on all of the different platforms. So I only have to post to one place, and yet it posts across all of my social platforms. So that's a case of it being like a trigger, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. AI, as most people know it, is more kind of query based. So if you're ever going into a text box and you go, you know, what is the capital of France, and it gives you back Paris, essentially all you're doing in that one is it's going, you put the query in, it's going through probably a few AI queries to be able to go and get there, and then it's giving you the response. The difference with an AI agent is we've now started to kind of build these things out to have tools and everything connected to them as well. So not only do they complete a task, but they're able to go and plan and decide how to go and complete that task. They have tools to help them go and complete that task. They're also able to reflect on how they've completed that task and look at how they would do it different if they've achieved that goal, and then they give you the response. So what we're seeing at the moment, that this is a really quick way of our terminals being able to go, I'm checking that I'm doing what you're asking and then coming back to you. And that's kind of the evolution we're moving for, from this chatbot interface to more of an intent-driven interface. Claude Code doesn't just have to connect to VS Code. You can connect it to literally anything that you use as a development tool. When you hear agentic AI, what you're looking at is not only having all of the tools that an agent's got, but when it's learned something, when it's done something for the first time, it then utilizes that information to learn and improve, so it knows how to do it better next time. And that's why with my one, you can see that I've got this whole back-end platform that has all of the things that I want to be able to look on, be secure with, all of the information that's there. Is it has a whole library of learning and lessons. Actually, I can show it on this one easier. A whole library here of everything that it's learned as it's gone through things. So every time we complete a task, at the end of it, it goes and puts those learnings in its own Wikipedia to be able to learn from and be able to improve things for next time. So you start to get this improvement in tasks being done more efficiently, better, more effectively. So that's a really cool way of being able to do this. Once again, if anyone's got any questions, wants to add anything to the comments, then do let us know. I'll do my best to answer as we go through. We've got 7 minutes left on this one. So yeah, if there's anything that's standing out as we're talking, then just put your name in the chat and let us know. So we've got our visualization. It's done its first pass at that. I know it's got more work to be able to do. This is also the visualizations that it's creating. It's utilizing 3JS to be able to kind of create those. And actually another visualization I'll show you as well, which is a good one to kind of follow on from what we were just looking at there. Let me do it this way. So this is what most people are used to being able to utilize. This is your your ChatGPT. You put in the information you want, it comes up with a response. And what it's doing when you're writing prompt, that's a bit of prompt engineering. So that's kind of like your level 1 AI, your basic skills. Then you start to go on to what we call context engineering, which is where you saw those Wikipedias and everything like that. Is I do that because it gives it more information to be able to work with completing a task. Maybe you need to upload documents to it or something like that. But essentially, if you were sending an email to an intern, context engineering would be like, oh, I've attached the deck or whatever you need to be able to have that information. And AI works in the same way. Always think of utilizing AI almost like sending an email to an intern. What information would it need in order to be able to go and get you the results that you're looking for? So our level 1 AI is being able to do a bit of prompt engineering, put in a prompt, get a response. Our context engineering is being able to give it more information in order to be able to get a better response. Then we have our harness engineering. So if I go back to our kind of platforms, this is a part of the harness. This is a part of the harness. It's everything that those AI agents now have access to. So it's things like being able to utilize different tools. It's things like being able to utilize the computer, run through code, all of that kind of stuff very much falls within our harness to be able to kind of develop, read things, write things, run things. That all falls within our harness engineering. So how do we basically give our AI agents the tools that they need in order to achieve the results we're looking for? And then you have loop engineering, and loop engineering, it sounds very new, but it's kind of just the fact that you can run these things on timers, right? So cron responses, which is a type of instruction that we can give. A lot of my AI agents run on schedules. They'll go, what are the top news articles for the day? Well, that creates a loop. So I can go every day, 6 a.m., go and find the articles. What's the most popular? What questions that people are asking? And it utilizes the timer as a way to be able to kind of give you responses and then put that all back into our work for the day. So that's kind of where we start to see more of our harness coming together to be able to connect this ecosystem for our AI agents to be able to operate in. So we were going to have a look at the studio and see where it's got on its first passes on that. It's nice. We've got a bit of a visual going on there. So some tools in the background there. Probably need to do some tidying up around making sure that everything fits in place, but it's a good first pass. It's got the tools on the left, the right here. We can see our editor coming together with our sound. I just need to make sure that it understands that bit. I'll probably get it to do a little bit of a fold of this side menu in order to be able to make the screen bigger there. But we know that it's not fully finished yet. It's just getting started. That task to be able to complete it all together to create an actual video studio within it, it's probably something that would take a couple of hours for an AI to be able to fully develop. But you can see the beginning foundations, the building blocks of that happening very quickly in real time. And you can also see that it's not me having to sit there babysitting the AI, like typing in something all the time. It's running this over and over again in the background to be able to go and get those results. So if we go back to our AI visualization here, we can see the instructions that it's doing. We can see the testing that it's trying out in order to be able to kind of get those results. So it's still operating in the background. I don't have to sit there checking in on every single thing that it's doing in order to see those results coming through. So hopefully this is a bit of a first step, a bit of an introduction into you understanding vibe coding. It's only a half an hour session to really kind of get you to see the art of the possible, but you're beginning to see this information of these AI ecosystems that you develop. And the sooner you do this for yourself, the more opportunities that you have to be able to go and create the things that you want. AI is fantastic at being able to erode the technical ability you need in order to be able to utilize technology. The whole point of it is if you can imagine it, if you can explain it, if you can communicate it, then you can probably get AI to be able to create it. And that ability to communicate it and create it is really the skills of vibe coding. So we started our work going on this one. What I want to make sure is if you are new to this kind of stuff and you're looking to be able to learn it, there's loads of content that I've put online, lots of resources that we have there. But once again, if you go to Bykov-Brett.net, go to our AI Learning Lab at the top. There's a community bit to be able to keep you up to date with all of the information that you might want, everything that's happening, all the moving and shaking in the world of AI. Just drop your email in there and we'll keep you up to date with all the information that you might want. Free guides, free tutorials, videos, live sessions, reports. There's a state of an AI that we do every couple of weeks that basically goes through, this is what happened last week, what's happened in the last 2 weeks, and this is what you need to be able to know about it. I think mainly because the biggest question I always get is how do I keep up to date with everything that's going on? And I go, you don't need to keep up to date. You just need to keep up to date with one bit, which is those webinars, half an hour bi-monthly digest to help you process all that information. So do feel free to join on that. If anyone has any questions, comments, anything else that people might want support with, then don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, YouTube, all of that kind of stuff. My handle is always Bykov-Brett.net. At Bykov-Brett, and the website's Bykov-Brett.net. So if you were looking for any support, training, a lot of what I do is supporting organizations to be able to implement this kind of technology. So if that's something you're interested in and you'd like to learn more about, then love to be able to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining today's session. I hope you found that useful, a bit of something that you might not have seen before. And as I said, it's the art of the possible at the moment. This isn't about saying that you need to be at this stage by tomorrow. This is showing you that what the technology is capable of and how you might want to start to be able to get on board with that. So the best place to start is always today. And the capabilities of AI is only going to grow over time. You have to remember that it was only a couple of years ago that we found it really impressive that we could talk to a computer and get a response back. And now we're beginning to see AIs spawn off their own AI agents in order to do creations while someone's able to host a webinar. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your questions. And look forward to catching you all very, very soon. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll see you on the next one.